Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow compatriots, fellow humans from across the planet, I am Nikhil Parekh. In this video, I shall be talking about my book titled The Womb, Poems on Mother, Father, Children, Parenthood, Volume 1, as well as giving you a recitation of different poems from this book of mine. So friends, let me commence with an introduction to this book of mine. About the poetry book. This book, which has 50 differently titled poems, is actually volume 1 of the book titled The Womb, 250 pages. A flurry of poetic concoctions dedicated to the ever-pervading woman and mother. Profoundly saluting her love, compassion and resolute grit as she evolves a diminutive infant into a powerhouse of talent, into a complete individual. The poems in the collection are humble salutations to the essence of parenthood, to the unbelievable depths of sacrifice that a mother resorts while bringing up her child right since its inception in the womb. Each poem reveres the godly womb. Each poem reveres the godly womb as the source of all creation, as the source of all creation that has ever been. This book in itself is the most befitting tribute to the agonizing Odysseys, of parents as they nourish their children, and children as they grow up as the most powerful angels of God. Children as they grow up as the most powerful angels of God to stupefy all humanity with their inherent charm. A quintessential read for every parent or parent to be. It brings out the charm. It brings out the charm of creation since the very first breath. The verses within bountifully poeticize every unbridled mischief of a child with its beloved parents. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be giving you a recitation of 4 different poems from this book of mine. These 4 differently titled poems are Her Baby, When I Was a Child Smiles, and Oh Heavenly Mother. Of course, at any juncture of mesmerizing existence, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is a recitation of my poem titled My Baby from this book of mine. Here is a recitation of my poem titled Her Baby from this book of mine. The dinosaur perceived it to be an inconspicuous insect, a small speck of dirt lying sprawled amongst infinite others of its kind. The red ants on the floor perceived it to be a colossal mountain with black roots on its summit. The clouds hovering in the cosmos perceived it to be a passing draught of placid wind. The yellow-beaked birds floating in the pond perceived it to be a flimsy fledgling having just hatched out. The ominous reptiles slithering in unchopped meadows of grass perceived it to be a gigantic worm with bulging eyes. The fiery body of sun in the sky, perceived it to be a hindrance, irascibly blocking its scintillating rays. The rustic chimpanzees. The rustic chimpanzees perched high on the trees perceived it to be a tiny inclusion into their vivacious tribe. Perceived it to be a tiny inclusion in their vivacious tribe. The chameleon transgressing through the incongruous bushes perceived it to be a gargantuan mosquito, impossible to be gobbled. The stray dogs philandering through the desolate streets perceived it to be a chunk of sumptuous chicken, the very sight of which made them profusely slaver at their mouths. The obstreperously humming bees in their cat-combed hives perceived it to be an organism of their fraternity when it incessantly cried. The obstreperously humming bees in their cat-combed hives perceived it to be an organism of their fraternity when it incessantly cried. The monstrous sharks in the deep ocean perceived it to be a fragile and sticky tadpole without its tail. The discordantly buzzing mosquitoes perceived it to be a blend of rich flesh. Perceived it to be a blend of rich flesh and blood, a rare treat to encounter once in a while. The silver spider entwined within the intricate threads of its web perceived it to be a crusader who could squelch its dwelling at any moment. The squirrels wandering through the meandering burrows perceived it to be a sumptuous nut, soft and supple to nibble. The diabolically toothed alligator in the swampy marshes perceived it to be crunchy bread for breakfast. The pigs ambling languidly on the streets perceived it to be a sophisticated bundle of scented garbage. The rats trespassing through the floors at night perceived it to be a freshly prepared conglomerate of food. The Creator who evolved him from her womb perceived him to be a human being, a tangible entity out of the millions he had created. The Creator who evolved him from her womb perceived him to be a human being, a tangible entity out of the millions he had created, while she perceived her baby to be the most beautiful person in this world, the most priceless treasure ever existing on this planet. Yes, your guess is as good as mine, for she was none other than his mother. While she perceived her baby to be the most beautiful person in this world, the most priceless treasure ever existing on this planet. Yes, your guess is as good as mine, for she was none other than his mother. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled When I Was a Child. So here is a recitation of my poem from this book of mine. When I was a child, I thought of devouring immaculate chunks of white butter. When I was a child, I thought of devouring immaculate chunks of white butter. Today, I contemplated the price. Before purchasing monetary gifts for pleasure. When I was a child, I clambered up tall trees to pluck nutritious fruit. Today, I pondered on the various ramifications Today I pondered on the various ramifications which could possibly occur when the farmer caught me red-handed. When I was a child, I played vociferously in mud, making inarticulate cakes of cow dung plaster. Today, I refrained from going near wetland on the flimsy grounds of having my trousers coated with obnoxious dirt. When I was a child, I got up early in the morning, relishing cool air while walking towards school. Today, I woke up with startled jerks. With darkness fully camouflaged in the sun. To rush in a jiffy towards office. When I was a child, I played for incessant hours in the evening with my cluster of friends. Today, I retired in front of the television screen with a glass of cold beverage at the onset of twilight. When I was a child, I demonstrated a plethora of emotions when profoundly agitated. Today, I had risen to holistic degrees of self-control, scrutinizing my mistakes before I cried. When I was a child, I took the supreme liberty of hiding amongst a fleet of guests arriving at our dwelling. Today, I audaciously shook hands with the same, conversed for indefatigable hours with them on matters of common parlance. When I was a child, I voraciously read a battalion of thrilling mysteries. Today, I completely engulfed myself in deciphering intricate codes of the stock market. When I was a child, I listened to my elders with rapt attention. And intense enthusiasm. Today I chalked policies of my own, implementing them with loads of fortified conviction. When I was a child, beads of sweat dribbled down my nape after witnessing a ghastly scene from the movie. Today, I didn't budge an inch from my seat after citing the same, as I knew it was fictitious. When I was a child, I had no hesitation asking for money from my ancestors. Today, I felt thoroughly abashed asking them to gratify my distinctly penurious state. When I was a child, I chortled into pools of uninhibited laughter at someone awkwardly dressed. Today, I emitted out sly smiles in order that the individual didn't feel humiliating and bad. When I was a child, I hardly had time to think about the vagaries of mystical world. Today, I spent hours pondering on a jugglery of consequences that would unleash. Today I spent hours pondering on a jugglery of consequences that would unleash if I wasn't careful. When I was a child, I thought the most onerous When I was a child, I thought the most onerous thing existing was to study. Today, I felt that it was the process of earning that was the most cumbersome of them all. When I was a child, those were the times I was oblivious to reality, solely living in a world of tailor-made fantasy. While today I had crossed the realms of maturity, acclimatized to the harsh reality, and desperately wished I was that unscrupulous child once again. When I was a child, those were the times I was oblivious to reality, solely living in a world of tailor-made fantasy. While today I had crossed the realms of maturity, acclimatized to the harsh reality, and desperately wished I was that unscrupulous child once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled A Child Smiles. So here is a recitation of my poem from this book of mine. Only in a world of freedom can a child unfold and bloom. Only in a world of freedom can a child unfold and bloom. Only with the sun piercing right through the dark hut. Only with the sun piercing right through the dark hut can a child see the wonderful sights of this world. Can a child see the wonderful sights of this world? Only in an ocean of unprejudiced love can a child speak to its heart's content. Only through the eyes of soft empathy can a child see its true reflection. Only in surroundings of unadulterated society can a child open its mind wholesomely and dream. Only when applauded at its tiniest achievement can a child come to know its hidden potential. Only in lanes without propagation of caste can a child recognize its own identity. Only in lanes without propagation of caste can a child recognize its own identity. Only in the cradle of happiness, only in the cradle of happiness can a child fantasize and create. Only in vicinity of the learned can a child imbibe the essentials of life. Only in the pages of medieval history can a child understand its ancestors better. Only in unpolluted waters of the Ganges can a child splash its hands and wholeheartedly swim. Only in unpolluted waters of the Ganges can a child splash its hands and wholeheartedly swim. Only without discrimination of gender and status can a child flourish to achieve its goal. Only without discrimination of gender and status can a child flourish to achieve its goal. Only in the gentle hands of its mother can a child shield its eyes and sob. Only in the gentle hands of its mother can a child shield its eyes and sob. And only in an atmosphere of complete equality can a child stimulate his urge for learning, prosper and smile. And only in an atmosphere of complete equality can a child stimulate his urge for learning, prosper and smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled, O Heavenly Mother. So here is a recitation of my poem titled, O Heavenly Mother, from this book of mine. The battalion of servants in vicinity loved you for your chivalrous tendencies. The battalion of servants in vicinity loved you for your chivalrous tendencies. The benevolent disposition of your heart. The benevolent disposition of your heart to cater to them with an egalitarian smile. The dog wandering on the lawns loved you for giving him a juicy bone, overwhelmingly placating his famished gluttony for the hungry day to yet unveil. The fleet of boisterous sparrows perched on the barren rooftops loved you for deluging their bowl with sparkling globules of water, delectably pacifying their thirst in the peak of acrimoniously sweltering summer. The man at the grocery store loved you for your benign mannerisms, the compassionately warm thanks you uttered as you accomplished your every purchase. The toddler crawling innocuously on the ground loved you for your intimate softness. The vivacious innocence with which you hoisted them high and handsome towards the misty sky. The cat sitting on the fence loved you for the ravishingly frosty milk you fed it every dawn, irrefutably ensuring that it kept smacking its Rubicon tongue for countless hours thereafter. The widow residing next door loved you for your uninhibited support, the stupendous empathy with which you made her inexplicable tears a part of your own persevering life. The ground through which you transgressed all day and night loved you for your voluptuously satiny caress. The unbelievably astronomical care you took to avoid the ruthless trampling. Of its soft granules. The beggars trembling uncontrollably on the streets loved you for your profound sympathy. The profusely philanthropic attitude you displayed while feeding them with precious meals of bread and brine. The succulent bunch of scarlet cherries loved you for embellishing them like a royal prince, placing them majestically on the icing of the Valentine cake. The orphans on the streets loved you for providing them with a place to rest, invincibly harboring them with loads of comforting warmth in the realms of the perilously treacherous night. The paintbrush lying still on the mantelpiece loved you for sketching mesmerizing lines of the landscape, imparting new life to the fathomlessly barren and dull sheets of dolorously dilapidated canvas. The festoon of garish clothes stashed in the wardrobe loved you for meticulously ironing them, washing them scrupulously in an ocean of enchantingly bubbly foam. The clouds floating in the cosmos loved you for admiring them till eternity, drowning yourself completely into the tantalizing blanket of their unparalleled glory. The vibrantly gaudy butterflies fluttering in free space loved you for your youthful leap. The astoundingly incredulous way in which you rejoiced with them in the isles of rampant fun. In the isles of rampant fun and ecstatic frolic. The freshly born infant loved you for your mischievous smile. The peck you gave it on its robust cheeks, fomenting it inevitably to euphorically bounce forward with newly discovered life. The irascibly pertinent rat loved you for your unsurpassable pity. The incomprehensible mercy you portrayed by leaving it to gallivant like a king. The incomprehensible mercy you portrayed by leaving it to gallivant like a king in the fields after releasing it from the horrendously obnoxious mousetrap. The man of the house loved you. The man of the house loved you for your unprecedented sense of responsibility. The incessant stream of love that kept pouring relentlessly and without the slightest of expectation from your divinely heart. And I loved you, O Heavenly Mother. And I loved you, O Heavenly Mother, for bearing me 9 months in your sacred womb, raising me up this big with perpetual longing and care, so that I could enjoy the world in its most fullest form today, coin plans to blissfully live for infinite more tomorrows. And I loved you, O Heavenly Mother. And I loved you, O Heavenly Mother, for bearing me 9 months in your sacred womb, raising me up this big with perpetual longing and care, so that I could enjoy the world in its most fullest form today. Coin plans to blissfully live for infinite more tomorrows. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow humans, fellow compatriots from across the planet, it truly was my earnest privilege to have given a recitation of my poetry to your glorious jurisdiction. From the innermost realm of my soul, I wanted to express my gratitude to you for having so nicely patronized my poetry. Of course, at any juncture of victorious existence, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. Thank you for listening to me.